Hey everybody, this is Beth Mackinney for FacePaintcom, and we've had some questions about what to do in a situation if a child has a sensitivity to face paint or possibly an allergic reaction. So I hope that this video today helps you decide how to handle that in advance. So as all of you know, face painters love to make kids happy, so none of us want to get a call from a mom whose child has had a reaction to face paint or has shown some kind of sensitivity. We really don't want that. So unfortunately, it's a little hard to tell in advance whether or not a child is going to be susceptible to a certain brand or a certain ingredient. So we really rely on parents to communicate any known issues or any past problems a child has had. The thing is, people can be allergic to almost any substance. It doesn't matter whether it's synthetic or natural, because some kids are allergic to milk, some kids are allergic to red 40. So we really need to know that information in advance. If there's any question, if you're really not sure, and if a parent is kind of leery of face painting, it's probably better to avoid face painting that child. The first thing you want to know as a face painter is that there is a difference between a sensitivity to something and an actual allergic reaction to something. You can be just sensitive to a substance and not really be allergic to it per se. A sensitivity might show up in a little redness on the skin, but that can also come from a parent just scrubbing really hard when they're removing face paint. So if it just fades away over time, there's no way to know for sure if it was sensitivity or if they just removed the face paint kind of roughly. But an anaphylactic reaction is different. With the anaphylactic reaction, that is a true allergic reaction. In that case, there are probably going to be red blotches, there might be swelling, and there also might be difficulty breathing. All those things are serious. And so for a situation like that, you do not want to face paint that child, and you definitely want to make sure that if any of those symptoms shows up, that they get immediate medical help. Okay, this is a big one. Make sure you're using professional face paint. Don't use acrylic paints. Face paint isn't paint, it's makeup. So if you see acrylic paint and you say, well, it's non-toxic. No. All non-toxic means is it probably won't kill you if you swallow it. But non-toxic doesn't mean this is made for use on the skin. Face paint has been made with ingredients that are FDA compliant. And they're made for use on the skin. They are a cosmetic. So you want to make sure that that's what you're using. So, if you're a professional, you should be using professional grade materials in what you're doing. Another thing to keep in mind is that makeup has a shelf life. So after you open it and begin using it, generally speaking, you have 18 months to 24 months before it's considered past its due date. So you want to keep an eye on that. You should know what's in your kit, know which paints or which brands, and you should know, how long do I have before I really should replace this? Because you're doing that to protect your clients. If you're a professional performer, you should have performance liability insurance. And I know people don't think of face paint as a performance, but it really is. It's considered a performance. So people tend to get insurance policies and they don't always read the policy, and then they get upset when something happens later. They're like, hey, why am I not covered? Well, as a performer, you need to read your policy and know what it covers. Don't expect just everything to be covered. Make sure you know, because usually your performance policy will not cover your kit in case it's stolen. That's a separate kind of policy. So make sure you know exactly what kind of coverage you have and make sure it's sufficient for covering your events. Contact your insurance company and find out, do they have any advice for you on how to handle situations so that you know what to do in case somebody calls you and says, hey, my child was sensitive to your face paint. One of the most important things that you can do is to educate your hostesses so they know how to remove face paint. Because, sometimes parents will want to leave it on overnight, because it's such a beautiful design, and they're like, oh yeah, you don't have to take a bath and take that off tonight. You can leave it on for a couple days. We really don't want that. Or they might use baby wipes to remove it, and sometimes baby wipes have ingredients that can irritate children's skin. So definitely you want to educate your hostess. Make sure that she knows face paint needs to be removed with a mild soap and wiped away with a wet washcloth or rinsed with water, always staying away from the eyes, and that it should be taken off before bedtime, just like anybody would take off their makeup before bed. Okay, one thing that's really important is that if a child or a parent says, oh yeah, my kid had a reaction a few years ago, don't face paint that child. I'm sorry, but you know what? It's just not worth the risk. If a child has had any kind of sensitivity, you have no way of knowing, number one, what they were sensitive to. You don't know which ingredient it is. You don't know what brand it was, because nobody remembers that. The parent probably doesn't even know. And the other thing is that you have no way of knowing how bad the next reaction will be, because allergic reactions can kind of snowball that way and get worse and worse over time. So it might have been a sensitivity last time, could be anaphylactic reaction this time. You really don't want that. So if there's any question, don't face paint the child. So for kids that are going to be really disappointed, if they can't get face painted, there are a number of ways that you can do something for them. You can give them stickers. You can carry some little age-appropriate toys to give them, or maybe you could do a glitter tattoo. Glitter tattoo adhesive is not face paint, so that might be a really good compromise. So they still have something fun from the party, but it's not face paint. One thing that should definitely be in your kit is a list of the ingredients of your face paint. So whatever brands that you have, you should have a printout that shows the basics of what is in that stuff. Because if a parent does have a question, you need to be able to pull that out. Hopefully everything on it is up to date, and they would be able to find any products that cause a problem. Sometimes kids are sensitive to red 40. That's an example, something to watch out for. But anything else should be on that printout, and I've had parents ask for that. Say, hey. I'd say a few final tips are to make sure that you keep your kit really clean. Make sure you're washing your sponges thoroughly, not just after the event, but make sure you're using one soapy cleaner during the event, and then you have your rinse wells as well, just to keep that really clean. Make sure you don't double use sponges. After you use a sponge, put it in the wash bag, take a fresh sponge. Make sure that they're clean for each child. You want to have a very hygienic kit so that you're not doing anything that would cause irritation or sensitivity to a child. Make sure that for kids that are really young, you may want to do the arm instead of the face. Their skin's still developing, they're pretty little, so make that suggestion. Sometimes parents aren't open to it, or the kids aren't open to it, but a lot of times they are, and sometimes that's a better place for kids that are little. Also, watch out for other substances that might be on the skin, like lotions or sunblocks. Sometimes those things can mix with other products like makeup and cause some problems. So you definitely want to be aware if there's something on the skin. Try to make sure the skin is very clean before you face paint it, so there isn't a reaction because two substances were combined. So, fortunately, any kind of reaction to face paint is pretty rare. We don't encounter it very often, and I think that that is a testimony to most face painters using good products on kids and watching out for the children that they're facing. So I hope this is helpful for you guys this week, and I hope it helps you set up a protocol that if you do have a situation like this, you're going to know how to handle it, and it's going to really benefit your client, and they're going to know that you really cared about them and you were taking care of them professionally. Happy painting!